In this video, we're going to review the Agility Platform Firewall policy. So let's start by looking at a firewall policy. We do this from the firewall perspective, from the policy perspective. And we go to the firewall policy that we've already created. And we can look at this policy and note that we already have some ports. Now the ports can be inbound or outbound, and they can be UDP or TCP/IP. Another easy way to do this, if you're copying it from another one, is you can actually directly copy the XML, from another instance or possibly another policy, just to make it easier. But in this, it's relatively easy to add or remove ports. For an example, if I had a monitoring application, I could do XYZ monitoring and add whatever port that it uses. So if it's 175, we do 175 and add whatever I needed to make this a little bit easier to understand. And this way it's applying to all of the IP addresses. And that's a relatively simple configuration. In this case, we're going to go ahead and discard the changes. Now, because the firewall rule was created in the 200 container, it is available to any object within that container. But things get a little bit interesting in the different ways that we can actually apply the firewall rules. One way of doing it would be when we create our blueprint. In this case, we're going to go to our blueprint firewall test. And we could apply the policy from here. Again, because we had this in the 200 container, it is available to us, and we can add it and make it part of the blueprint. Pretty straightforward, and whenever this blueprint is deployed, this will automatically be applied. Now, a reason for doing that would be if I have a certain application and there are communications, particularly in a multi-tier application, and I want to make sure that all of those are configured appropriately, this is where I might do that. I can put all of the different levels and access for that particular policy. I can configure them, and I can apply that directly to the blueprint. Another option might be if I have, as we were talking about earlier, if I have a monitoring utility that needs to be applied to all of the instances deployed within that particular container, then I can go to the policy rule, and in this case we'll go to our firewall environment, and we will add that policy. And again, it was defined in 200, and it's applied at this, in our firewall environment. Now when we go back to Designer, you'll notice that we do not have any firewall rules applied within the blueprint. So when we go to deploy the blueprint, because we applied it at the container level, the template is automatically going to get the firewall rule through inheritance. So now when we go to the template, which shows how we were actually deploying, we can see, when we go to the firewall rules, that it has already been applied. And the other thing that you'll also notice is that I cannot remove it. So since this has been enforced, this will be applied to any instance that is deployed within that container. So a couple of things to think about, or how do these rules work in particular. One would be instances that are already running will not pick up the firewall rules. So that's important. So typically, if you have something running, or instances running, they will need to be rebooted to pick up the new configuration. The firewall rules work by editing the Linux IP tables or the Windows firewall rules, and in the case of Amazon, it will actually create EC2 security groups that are associated with that. So that makes it relatively easy to use. There are some firewalls that we can sort of work with a little bit, and it will help configure those firewalls. You'd have to get a list of those to see what's actually compatible and what environments we can use that. But you will find that the firewall rules are very, very flexible and would help you considerably in terms of making sure that your environments are configured the same. If you have development environments and other environments and you want to make sure that the security configurations are the same, firewall rules are a big part of that, and they will certainly help you do that. Thank you for your time.